Hello, YouTube. I'll tell you today about a very unusual person. She is still alive, as far as I know, and she supposedly has powers that very few human beings do. In the issue number 15 of the Russian newspaper Argumenty and Fakty, in the year 2009, in the article Water for the Leaders, Professor Gennady Berdyshov said that when in the late 1970s the health of the Secretary General Leonid Brezhnev, who was the Soviet leader, deteriorated sharply, according to the method he developed, they began to give the Soviet leader water obtained from the melted ice cores taken from the depth of 100 meters in Antarctica. But in this area, Professor Berdyshov had a famous competitor, whose name was Alexander Spirkin. He was a member of the USSR Academy of Sciences. And if the first one, Berdyshov, prepared living, we can also term it healing water, for the Secretary General using purely physical methods, then the second one, let's say he used metaphysical ones. The person I told you before and have referred to in a number of my videos, Valentin Psalomshikov, he was a Russian scientist and journalist, and he knew a number of paranormal mysteries of the former USSR. I have presented some of them, and you can see them in my other videos about him. But there is one more I have not, like in this case. Since Psalomshikov had something to do with this procedure, Spirkin's project, he decided to let the readers of the NLO magazine, quite famous at the time, to get acquainted with these little-known events. The confines of a short article, claimed Psalomshikov, forced him to omit the preliminary events and immediately move on to the adventuresome events, as he put it. One day in the late 1970s, in the summer, when he remained at the department of the scientific institution where he worked as the acting head, Moscow guests, so to say, arrived at their institute. There were two men in civilian clothing, and they told a very intriguing story. This very Spirkin got a certain sorceress, an old woman, somewhere in the outback, who prepared healing water in a way unknown to science. And this water is consumed internally, let's say by some very high-ranking comrades. And now it is necessary to conduct an independent examination of this water. But the entire difficulty is that other, less senior comrades do not have access to this water. Again, Psalomshikov had to omit the explanation of why these people turned to him, although neither before nor later in his life was he at all interested in the secrets of the Kremlin court, so to say. But the mystery of the living water was quite intriguing, and he had to get involved in the operation that Psalomshikov called Operation Trojan Horse for himself. He created that name. But since he had no way to get to Spirkin, he decided to try to bait him in the form of a pretty young witch. This, of course, was a joke. It's just that his friend Natasha was a very strong psychic. Before sending her to Moscow, Psalomshikov supplied Natasha with several quartz vessels with ground quartz stoppers and even a quartz funnel. The extracted sample should not have been contaminated with any foreign impurities. By the way, if distilled water is put twice in an ordinary glass vessel, then its physico-chemical properties will change quickly enough, and it will turn into ordinary distilled water. Psalomshikov also omitted the detective details, so to say. Natasha coped with her task perfectly, and most importantly, the first time he passed the Spirkin test to determine which water in several identical glasses is charged by the sorcerers. As a result, he received a photo with that person, Spirkin, with a commemorative inscription. After the living water turned out to be in a quartz vessel, Natasha boarded an airplane, and after a few hours, they conducted its first physico-chemical analysis, and part of it was sent to Leningrad State University, where it was analyzed at the Nuclear Magnetic Resonance Facility. Psalomshikov also omitted the details of the analysis. In the first approximation, the water corresponded to the living water obtained by electrolysis through a semi-permeable membrane in terms of physico-chemical characteristics. Such water has a pronounced bactericidal effect and promotes faster wound healing. It is very successfully used to treat such a common disease as stomach ulcer. The standard analysis did not reveal any sorcerous problems beyond this. It was only in the late 1980s that it was possible to declassify the identity of the sorcerers, who lived in Spirkin's apartment, and a curious circumstance turned out. In addition to their institute, experiments with her participation were conducted at the Institute of Radio Engineering and Electronics of the USSR Academy of Sciences, the All-Union Research Institute of Medical Technology of the USSR Ministry of Health, at the Department of Hospital Surgery of the People's Friendship University, and other organizations. She turned out to be a resident of the village of Pelshitsy, Mogilev region, by the name of Fedora Danilovna Konyukhova. However, when the sorceress gave an interview to the Komsomolskaya Pravda newspaper journalist, Fyodora Danilovna delicately did not mention her activities with Spirkin, or maybe she didn't know for what purpose she was making that healing water. She only mentioned that Spirkin had asked her to stay with him in Moscow for 2 years so that the scientist could observe her. I wanted to convince scientists that there is nothing mysterious about me, but they wrapped wires around me, connected me to some devices. I have been through a lot of these scientific tests, but to be honest, I still could not figure out what they wanted to find out with the help of devices. After all the devices are unlikely to help here. But even earlier, similar experiments were conducted with Ninel Kulagina, and you can see the results of some of them violated physical laws, and it was easier for researchers to declare her a fraud than to believe in such a blasphemous possibility. The academician Kobzarev, at whose institute Kulagina was tested, once decided on an equally blasphemous assumption. If a living organism is able to operate on a certain fifth physical interaction, then it is unlikely that we will be able to identify it using familiar techniques and devices using the 4 interactions known to us so far. So Psalomshikov did not presume to say that we managed to discover all the secrets of the living water. which the Belarusian magician or sorceress was able to receive contactless without touching it with her hands. It is if it fully corresponded to the living water obtained by electrolysis, it would be easiest to make an elementary device. By the way, the craftsman who experimented with it in the absence of a scarce semi-permeable ion membrane used a piece of thick tarpaulin, and a battery respectively. And now Fyodora Danilovna achieved the same effect with her hands. How? It has remained a mystery. And I don't think we're likely to find out. Psalomshikov passed away. If my audience wants to find out more about this Baba Fyodora, as she is known, I can make a more detailed video. But today I wanted to let you know about this somewhat mysterious account that Psalomshikov left behind, and what other powers that be may be using her healing talents or legacy of her, I don't want to say research, but powers. So that's what I wanted to let you know today. And if you like my videos, please kindly support me through the links you'll find in the description to this video. Please subscribe to my channel. Please tell others. Thank you for your attention to my work.